Hey everybody, welcome back to Terribly Explaining Hulk Lore, where I try to explain Hulk Lore, and I do it pretty bad because the last videos were pretty bad, but I'm going to try to make this video really good. Anyway, this is the third part in this series. This is probably going to be the last part too, because I'm going to go over the last two series into this run. Anyway, as I said before, the last runs were pretty bad. They were probably the biggest fall off for a character since Spider-Man, but luckily we got Al Ewing, who brings back the Hulk to his former glory, and it's just pretty crazy. So let's get into it. Bruce Banner is back from the dead, obviously. This is bringing back Bruce as the main character of the Hulk. Last time we had Amadeus Cho. That was pretty terrible. There was only like 2 good parts in that series, and that was like the last 2 arcs, and it was just a rehash of the stuff that Greg Pak already wrote, and it was like the worst versions of those things. Anyway, I'm not going to talk more about this stuff. Bruce Banner's back from the dead. He brings back from the dead from the Green Door, which is basically like this metaphysical concept in which every Gamma mutate is able to go down into hell after they die, and then they go back to life, come back to life through this thing called the Green Door, which is powered by the One Below All, who's basically the giant devil of the Marvel Universe and is like the negative, evil aspect of the One Above All, who's the god of the Marvel Universe. It's a giant thing. It is really crazy. Anyway, they also get their powers from the One Below All because the One Below All is made of gamma radiation. Also, gamma radiation is also mystical and magical and isn't just science stuff. It's also like deep, dark magic that empowers people with like this super strength and whatnot. It's really weird, and we get into that stuff later. This is a really philosophical book. Anyway, this is a pretty big horror-inspired comic. If you like The Thing by John Carpenter, you're probably going to love this because the art style is just a big love letter to John Carpenter's The Thing. There's just lots of body horror, lots of gore, lots of cool fight scenes. The art is utterly fantastic. I love it a lot. It's probably my favorite look ever from the Hulk. There's like this big thing with the artist. He made some anti-Semitic stuff, but let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the art itself. And the art itself is fantastic. It's probably my favorite art in any of the Hulk book, other than... Actually, no, I think it's probably my favorite art in any Hulk book. It's just really good. It's really gory. The action scenes look great. It is perfect. Absolutely perfect. It is just a giant, big love letter to the Hulk and his lore. It's a big love letter to Bruce Banner, to the Hulk, to Savage, Hulk, Joe Fixit, Doc Green, all the Hulk personas that you know and love. It's just a giant, love letter to that. It also brings back personalities that you forgot about, like the Devil Hulk and Joe Fixit. Joe Fixit, who hasn't been around since like 2010, and the Devil Hulk, who hasn't been around since like 2000. Remember him? He was created by Paul Jenkins. He tried to take over Bruce's body and is supposedly like the evil Hulk from like all of Bruce's like rage and I don't know, like all the evil thoughts Bruce had towards the world. Well, actually, it isn't that. Apparently, the evil Hulk is just a manifestation of Bruce's want for a dad. So it's actually just a giant daddy who wants to protect Bruce, also wants to destroy the Earth because he's really big in the green market, because he's green and he wants everything to be green because humans are destroying the Earth. It's kind of tagged on, and it isn't really written as well as the rest of the stuff that's in this book, but yeah, he's basically just Bruce's dad, sort of. Or at least Bruce's want for a dad or whatever. Speaking of like really bad written, there's also a really annoying human character in this run called Jackie McGee. She's basically a nod to like that really old show from the 70s, The Hulk, The Incredible Hulk, where this reporter is like tracking down Bruce in that old show. Well, basically she's a nod to that character. She also gets gamma powers. She could basically see like ghosts and stuff. It's pretty creepy or whatever. Anyway, she's really annoying. She doesn't do a lot for most of the issues. She just kind of complains and tracks down the Hulk a lot and complains to him. She's actually probably the worst parts of this series. Speaking of the worst parts, there's also like the political parts of it. As I said before, it's really big in its environmental message, especially with like the Devil Hulk, who's like, I want to destroy the entire human world because humans are destroying the planet, and it's really cringe. It isn't written as well, as I said before, it isn't written as well as like the rest of the horror stuff that's in it, the rest of the Lovecraftian weird stuff that's in this book. It feels really tagged on and doesn't have a lot of nuance. There is this one really cool part when he fights Roxxon. Roxxon is like this really big evil corporation. It's basically like evil. It's basically like Amazon, really, except like the CEO is just a Minotaur. That's pretty funny. Also, the Minotaur gets Zemnu. Zemnu is a creature really old from the Marvel comics. He fights the Hulk a couple times in a bunch of older comics, but he returns and he brainwashes everybody, especially Bruce. He creates a new evil Bruce personality, which was pretty cool if you ask me. Like a Bruce personality, he called himself Robert, which is Bruce's first name. That's a big thing. Anyway, he manages to trap the Devil Hulk, and the Savage Hulk becomes the main personality once again. As I said before, Joe Fixit is here, but he's also not a Hulk personality. He's a Bruce personality for some reason. He can't transform into the Hulk, so he's stuck as a human. And it's actually really cool to see that, like how they operate as a human rather than a Hulk. He kind of doesn't like it because, you know, he likes smashing stuff, and it's really hard to do that when you're a 90-pound weakling like Bruce is. But yeah, that happens. He fights Roxxon. He nearly wins. Well, he does win. And the Green Scar, the World War Hulk, he comes back and he kills Zemnu. Also, Zemnu kills the CEO of Roxxon. It was pretty gory and kind of disgusting. He basically like creates these like homunculus made up of all of the employees. It is disgusting to look at, and it's glorious, and I love it. It also brings in the new concepts. I already talked about this before, the green door, the one below all, and the below place, which is like the deepest, lowest level of hell ever. And it's like the deepest, lowest level of the multiverse as well. And apparently that's just where all gamma mutates go when they die, because they're all connected to the one below all, since they all draw their powers from it. Whatever it is, well, we know what it is, but like they draw their powers from it. And it's really cool, the concept. Also, the one below all uses the spirit of Bruce's dad, Brian. Yeah, Brian comes back and basically haunts Bruce because he's now like an aspect of the one below all. He's not really a vessel, but he is like a way to speak with his other creations, with the gamma mutates, especially Bruce. Because the one below all really wants Bruce to become his physical vessel so he could torment and destroy the entire universe, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to be the only thing alive in the universe. That's basically the entire mission for the one below all, and it's really crazy. So he uses the ghost of Brian Banner to get into Sasquatch, who's like a friend of the Hulk. He's from Alpha Flight, a Canadian team, and he uses Brian Banner to possess Sasquatch. They fight. Hulk absorbs all of Sasquatch's gamma energy, basically rendering the guy who turns into Sasquatch, Walter, back to human, and he also absorbs his dad's ghost, which is really crazy. And then later, Alpha Flight turns into Gamma Flight, and they try to fight Hulk again, but this time using the Absorbing Man. And the Absorbing Man absorbs all of Hulk's gamma radiation, and he gets possessed by Brian Banner, and he turns into this disgusting, he gets split in half and turns into this disgusting monster thing, and uses all of his Hulk's gamma radiation to bring the Green Door into the physical realm, and use it as a way to get into the one below all's place, the below place. And they bring Bruce Banner down there, and they try to kill him there, or at least use his body to manifest the one below all into it. Luckily, Hulk was there. Not the Savage Hulk, the Devil Hulk is there, helps him out. Basically says, yeah, I'm basically just a physical manifestation of you wanting of Dad. And they get out of hell. That's like the first time they went back to hell. Bruce goes back to his wife. His wife kind of hates him, but then she gets shot by an assassin from Shadow Base, which was originally Gamma Base, but was taken over by this guy who really hates the Hulk. And he tries to kill him, but accidentally kills Betty. Don't worry, she comes back from the dead as well, because she was also Gamma Mutate, but this time she doesn't turn into a Red She-Hulk. She turns into a Red Harpy, which is a callback to the time when she was called the Harpy. That was the whole thing, but anyway, she's a Harpy now. She also hates Bruce and doesn't turn into Betty whenever he's around. She's also another bad part of the entire run. She's just really annoying and just really self-righteous and a bit of a prick, especially since she also like tried to kill Bruce a couple times. So I don't know where all of this hatred is coming from. Honestly, their relationship is just really toxic. I should probably make a video about that later on, but they have possibly the most toxic relationship in all of comic book media. That isn't like Peter Parker and MJ, but that's another issue. Anyway, they're back. Also, Sasquatch, already talked about him. Rick Jones comes back from the dead. Also, Rick Jones died a little bit ago from the Secret Empire arc. That was another pretty bad crossover event. But anyway, he got killed, but don't worry, he's back again. But he's not really back because he's possessed by the leader, who's now the new physical vessel for the one below all. Sort of. Also, the leader is like the main big bad, because the leader is also always the big bad of these Hulk runs. which is really funny. But yeah, the leader tries to take over the Hulk's body. He does that by using the green door to get into the Hulk's mind and kill the Devil Hulk and kidnap Bruce. So Bruce is being kidnapped and taken back into the below place. And so now it's just Savage Hulk and Joe Fixit. And Joe Fixit can't turn into the Hulk, and Savage Hulk has all of his gamma radiation absorbed out of his body. So now he's just really skinny and disgusting looking and malnourished, and it's really bad. He looks like he hasn't had a Twizzler in like years. Get that boy a sandwich. But yeah, they're on the run now from the Shadow Base and from the people who want to kill them, which is like the leader and all these other demons. Gamma Flight manages to get the UFOs, or like the new leader of Gamma Flight gets the UFOs, who are like these basically evil version of the Fantastic Four, and shoot them up with cosmic radiation, because cosmic radiation apparently is like anti-gamma radiation, and then kill them. They go back down to hell. The leader, who is now like the physical manifestation of the One Below All, turns the green door into the red door, so they can't get into there. But because they're getting shot by cosmic radiation so much, Joe Fixit turns into a red Hulk and is able to smash through the red door and come back as a sort of red gray Hulk. He has like the gray Hulk body, but he has red eyes and red veins, and he looks super sick, and he's way more powerful now. And now he can turn back into the Hulk. Anyway, eventually they go back down to hell. Joe Fixit, Savage Hulk, and Jackie, because apparently she wants to help, even though she's totally useless. And they go down to hell, and apparently the leader is getting taken over by the One Below All, since he's not strong enough. And he really just wanted the power, but he realized the power was too much. And so they managed to save Bruce, but first the Savage Hulk wants to know why there is a Hulk and why is he always in pain. And there's this giant philosophical development on why there's a Hulk and why there needs to be a Hulk and what even is a Hulk. And the One Below All turns into the One Above All. As I said before, they're just aspects of each other. And the One Above All is like, you're my creation, you're here because you're necessary. And then goes into this deep philosophical talk about why there needs to be anger and rage and whether or not he wants to be merciful or whatnot. Anyway, the leader loses his powers and becomes a regular dude again. The Hulk forgives him, and they go back out with Bruce again. Devil Hulk is apparently still dead, but yeah, that happened. They come back out, and it's really good. This goes deeper into like Banner's psyche than most other runs, honestly. It's really good. The only other run that went any deeper than this was probably Paul Jenkins' run in the like early 2000s, and it goes deeper into Bruce's psyche and, you know, his relationship with his Hulk personalities. And it's just him accepting who he is and accepting himself. And I really like that aspect of this run. Bruce accepting himself and accepting the Hulks as himself, and, you know, finally working together with his other personalities, which is really good. Unfortunately, that doesn't last very long in the next run, but we'll get into that a little bit. But other than that, this is a fantastic run. I highly recommend it to anybody who's a giant Hulk fan. I can't recommend it to people who aren't, though, because this is, as I said, a giant like love letter to the Hulk. It's a celebration of all Hulk lore and Hulk things. So if you're going to get into the Hulk run, I probably wouldn't recommend this for you, because you wouldn't understand anything that's going on other than like the new concepts, which are new to this Hulk sort of stuff. But yeah, this is really, really good. Also, on the last bit, apparently Bruce and Samuel, who's the leader, apparently they're related. It's a whole thing in the last issue where apparently their ancestors were related the entire time, and Bruce's female ancestor kind of slept with Samuel's, one of his ancestors, and anyway, it's weird. Apparently they're like cousins or something, and yeah, that's basically the entire thing. There's a bit more to it, obviously, but I can't get into it, but I still highly recommend it. It's only 50 issues, not including annuals, and there's like a 5-issue miniseries that goes over the Gamma Flight adventures, but for the most part, it's mostly just 50 issues, and I highly recommend it. You could probably buy it on Amazon, the hardcover, for like $120, the entire thing. So yeah, check it out if you want to. Al Ewing's run is a 9.5 out of 10. Those little issues like the political stuff and Jackie McGee and Betty being super annoying, those like really bring it down to like bring like a half point down. But for the most part, it's a beautiful run, and I highly recommend it. But that's that run. Let's get into the next run, Donny Cates' run. This one is really weird because, you know, we're getting off the back of Al Ewing's incredible Immortal Hulk run. And then we have this run, which is not only not sort of complete, it's also really, really, really weird. because apparently Donny Cates and Al Ewing's wanted their runs around the same time, but Marvel picked Al Ewing's run, and so Donny Cates came on afterwards and did his thing. The problem is that all of the the character development that happened in the last run is just totally gone. Bruce is back to hating the Hulk and even traps the Hulk in the back of his mind and uses the Hulk's body to create a starship so he could go on adventures in alternate realities. It's super crazy, and like the best part about this run is Hulk fighting Thor, because there's like a little Hulk versus Thor thing since Donny Cates was writing Hulk and Thor at that time. So they fought each other, and it was really cool, and it's like the best part about it. Apparently, it ends with like basically saying like Thor would beat Hulk in a fight because Thor is much stronger, even with Hulk with Thor powers, because Hulk gets to use Mjolnir, and then Thor gets gamma radiation and becomes like a Hulk Thor, and they fight, but apparently Thor is just stronger than Hulk. So that ends that argument, I guess. It probably doesn't, but to me, I feel like that's a good ending to it. But the rest is just kind of stuff that happens. It's not very interesting at all, other than like the Hulk versus Thor part. There is this one pretty interesting thing where Bruce develops a new personality called Titan, who's actually like a magical personality implanted in him by a demon called Despair, who wants to use the Hulk's body to destroy the world, because of course he does. And like that's the most interesting part. He manages to get rid of Titan with the help of Doctor Strange, and he also goes on the planet full of like Hulk-like creatures, and that's a thing. But for the most part, this run doesn't really mean much, especially when Donny Cates unfortunately left the run due to personal issues. So this run feels really weird and really like off-putting, especially after the events of Al Ewing's run, and it doesn't really feel natural, like a natural increase of the character development. It doesn't feel like a natural sequel to it. It's honestly kind of like what happened with Paul Jenkins' run and Bruce Jones's run. Well, Paul Jenkins feels like a pretty great sequel to Peter David's run, and explores more of the stuff that Peter David was exploring, only for Bruce Jones to come in and basically just like throw all that stuff away to do his own thing, and like all that other stuff with like the personalities and Lou Gehrig's disease, it's just gone in favor of like a psychological thriller mixed in with like X-Files. So yeah, I would say that's what's happening here with Al Ewing's run and Donny Cates' run, where it feels like two different things happening, like two different stories, like it would happen with another character, but now with Hulk. But yeah, this run sort of ends on a high note with Hulk finally defeating Titan and him having new friends with the Hulk planet. I say sort of because the next run is him on the run once again. So that's crazy with Philip Kennedy Johnson's run, but I can't really talk about it since it's only 3 issues in. But yeah, that's basically Donny Cates' run. I can't say it's a bad run per se. I just feel it's very mind-boggling, I feel, especially after Al Ewing's incredible run. So like, I would still sort of recommend it because it's still fun. It has its fun moments. It's drawn by Ryan Ottley. If you don't know who Ryan Ottley is, he's the guy who drew a lot of the Invincible comics. So the art is pretty crazy, especially with like the action scenes and stuff, with the gore. It's really gory, this run too. Not as gory as Al Ewing stuff, but still pretty cool to look at. But yeah, I would still give this one like a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's bad. It's definitely much better than the Hulk runs before Al Ewing's run. I would say it's way better than Totally Awesome Hulk, but the rest of the stuff is just kind of weird. And it's only like 14 issues, so it's a pretty quick read overall. And I still really like the Thor parts, the Thor versus Hulk parts. That was the best part of the entire run. But overall, I can't say it's really high on my list of Hulk runs. And yeah, that's it. That is all of the Hulk runs ever that I've read personally. As I said before, I haven't read all of the runs before 1987. So I'll probably make a video on that much later when I'm able to buy them all. I'll probably have to buy single issues because they're not all collected yet, unfortunately. But I get into that when I get into that. Overall, this was a pretty fun series, and I liked it a lot. And I hope you liked it too. So, if you do, subscribe, like, and comment down below what you liked, what you disliked, what you wish I talked more about. And I'll probably make a video on that if you do. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll probably make another video with the same concept instead with like Thor, because Thor has a pretty streamlined run as well, and I've read a lot of his runs from like the early 90s up until now, so I'll probably make that sooner or later. But until then, I think I'll go back to making short reviews on like shorter stories and shorter arcs. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll see you next time.